Welcome to the Become the Best You podcast, where we discuss everything personal development and listen to real life relatable stories from individuals that are on a mission to become their best self. Joel, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Joel is a coach, speaker, right? And he's been training me for the last 6 months. We've been working together now.
Yes.
That's why I'm so good at speaking. But no, we've been working together for the last 6 months. It's been a pleasure working together. That's why I wanted to jump on the pod with you. One, because when we're doing the coaching together, you know, you tell me a lot about your own story and things that you're doing, which I think is really inspiring. And I'd love you to just give me an insight more into sort of, you know, how you got into public speaking and some of the things that you do with your own, you know, coaching and speaking itself. How far would you like to take me back, Joe?
Man, we can go straight to the start.
Let's go.
So I was born in Congo, and at the age of 9, because of the civil war that was happening back then, my parents migrated here to the UK. And I mean, it was really bad at home. I mean, some days wake up seeing soldiers with AK-47s. So left Congo, came here to the UK, and bro, I could not speak a word of English.
I didn't know that either. And it's funny that he's just saying the same thing, right?
Literally.
Your English is better than mine.
Bro, it's so crazy how there's just been a turnaround. Like, yeah, let me go back. So couldn't speak a word of English. I could only speak French and Lingala, which is the language spoken in Congo. So as you can imagine, could not make friends at all. I had no sense of belonging. In fact, I was bullied for pretty much the first few years being in the UK. And it was a real lonely journey. But then fast forward about 2 years in, I could finally speak English. And let's fast forward to university. Went to the University of Nottingham, studied politics and French. And that's really where I would say my story started to unfold.
See, even there though, like from you, like you said, you know, from let's say 9 to 11, right? You couldn't speak no English, and then you just told me that you went to university. How did you find going through school, like not being able to speak English? Did you learn English in school? Was it an outside thing?
Yeah, so we had after school English lessons, and going through school itself was how do I pull it? It was a real lonely journey for me because being the one kid that can't speak English yet, you're seeing people around you form friendships, you know, play together on the playground, banter, have jokes, but yet you're kind of an outsider looking in. So it was real lonely, and even in class, like there was times where I'd understand what the teacher's saying or a question they might have for us, but in terms of like, I know what she's asking or he's asking and I have the answer, but to put my hand up and express and say the answer, I just couldn't. One, I couldn't speak the language, but also two, just that sense of being an outsider. I didn't feel like I was part of the system or part of the friendships that people had formed. So it was really me, myself and I for those 2 years. What did help though was I wasn't the only one that couldn't speak English. And so after school, that's when I would say I had a sense of community and I had a sense of belonging. I remember the after school lessons, a lot of people there could speak French. So that's where I was able to connect with people. But one of the things that I really got from those 2 years though was, which still carries me to this day, is really how to be comfortable with self, and how to be comfortable with your identity.
For sure. Do you feel like them earlier lessons there, you not being able to speak up for yourself, you feeling that not being a part of that community, like, or having that sense of community after, has pushed you on to do the community and speaking now?
Definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
It helps because I understand what it's like to not know how to express yourself. I understand what it's like to be nervous or anxious when it comes to communication. So it helps in that sense. So as a coach, when I'm coaching someone on public speaking, where some coaches might not be able to relate with those first stages of being anxious when it comes to communication. I know what it's like.
Yeah.
And so going on to university, I was leading a public speaking society in my second year of uni, and each week teaching about 50 students how to be confident communicators. And that's really where I would say I came to accept that, wow, this is a part of my calling.
Love that. When was the defining moment that you got into public speaking? Because you're teaching people there. When was it like you thought, I'm going to start public speaking and getting that buzz for it, or getting over the anxieties of doing it initially for yourself first? Because it's petrifying, right?
It is. No, it really is. And the stats are out there, right? The stats show that I think almost half of the British population have a fear of public speaking.
Yeah, ain't it like they fear
public speaking more than death.
More than death or something like that, right?
Yeah. So it's crazy. So for me, I would say, so just for your audience, I was raised in church.
Okay.
My dad's a pastor. And even in that setting, there were times where, like, he would give me the mic, and thankfully the church that I was brought in, it's a French church, I would speak before the congregation, and there was something about it that I really enjoyed. Not necessarily that, I'm the center of attention, but more so this opportunity to impart something to people listening. So that's where I'd say it started for me, probably at a young age. But at university, during my first year at the Uni of Notts, before becoming vice president, I was part of the society just as a normal person. And there were moments where we'll do this, which is what you and I do, these random word exercises. And it's really an opportunity for people to kind of give a talk on a random topic or word. And I remember a few times I got to do that, and the similar feeling of, wow, this is an opportunity to impart knowledge. It's an opportunity to impart wisdom. It's an opportunity to encourage someone that might be feeling down. And each time I spoke, I would always notice people's expressions change. Not every single person in the audience, but I'd notice a few faces that perhaps initially they looked down, to all of a sudden now they're smiling or they're laughing. And by the time I finish, it's like they're a completely different person.
And how do you find when you're originally doing them or you do them? Because I even know we're on a screen, right? You're getting me to do, even on my call when we're doing, like, we've been there loads of times, and I know the random words coming up.
Yeah.
I start sweating thinking about it. And I'm not even in front of people, right? Because it's like prompt speaking of just off the top of your head. I've got used to it now, but there's still something about it that makes you feel just nervous and a little bit apprehensive to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and it was good because I know if I do it, I'm going to grow on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Does it bring you that same feeling when you're doing it?
Yeah, definitely. So I always say I'm not immune to the nerves. The nerves are there, but I the way I frame it is, the nerves aren't bad. They're because I have the opportunity to speak life into someone or into a situation.
Okay, I've not looked at it.
So that's how I frame it. And a lot of times before I talk, I do this, especially when, like, I have a keynote speech, or if I'm doing a sermon, for example, I give myself weeks to literally internalize the words, the topic, my content. And sometimes I do it to the point where you can put me before the audience and I don't even need my notes. I can just flow. And I found that it tends to be a lot more powerful. But yeah, so I frame it as an opportunity to impart, an opportunity to encourage, an opportunity to add value. Really, that's the core of it, right?
I think that's powerful, because I think one of the things that holds people back is the nerves or the feeling or the anxiousness of it. I don't know what it is that got me into public, like wanting to public speak, but I think it was one of the things, and maybe I looked at it not as the wrong way, but when I said that I wanted to stop, because when I used to drink and do all that, I used to be very loud, very confident and stuff. And one of the things that I said is, if I stop doing that, I want to be able to find something that almost allows me to be confident in myself. And I think speaking does that. But really speaking anywhere that I want, whenever I want, or just the thrill or buzz that I've got an image of myself in the future talking to thousands of people, and I feel like that is going to top any substance that it's going to give me, you know. So like when I think of speaking, I just think of like the growth that I'm going to get to, and how confident I'm going to feel in myself. But I know in the part, like I remember even just like in school, I never used to stand up and things like that. No way. I used to like, or if I'd be in a crowd, I'd be like, please do not pick me. Like I don't want to stand up. But I remember the end of year assembly, it was like they was calling people's names just to walk to the front. So you didn't even have to talk, but like to collect something. And I remember it just being like blurry because like I don't think I liked standing up in front of people, even if I never had to talk. I don't know. So I wanted to overcome that through being able to actually speak. And the first time I'd done it before me and you worked together was in Toastmasters. And just even that, the initial dread of standing there and like even introducing yourself, which is like something easy, you know your own name, right? But what do you think it is that just gives that people that like fright where they just don't want to do it? Because I used to be scared before, and then like when I'm up there it's like scared. Then it went from being not so scared before, but when I get up there seemed like fright, like it would just it would hit me. Now it only hits me a little bit when I stand up, and like once that passes I get into the groove of it. What do you feel like is it the reason that people just like avoid it, get scared completely when they're up there, or just like it is why the second fear of people?
So I think on one hand, of course, you've got the scientific part of it, which is, you know, your brain, body goes into fight or flight, and, you know, your amygdala, which is like a mini peanut looking thing and in the middle of your brain, that releases hormones that leads to, you know, sweating. You've got that side of it. But I think one of the things that can actually help us is understanding that we're actually made to communicate. And I'll expand on that. Even without words, we're already communicating. So in our body language, we're communicating something. Even with eye contact, we're communicating something. And so I think one of the most important things that we can understand, public speaking or not, day to day, we're already communicating in various ways. My wife, she always gets onto me for this. She can tell when I'm not listening and she's trying to tell me something.
I get told off for it all the time, don't I?
Like, even as recent as last week, I think it was. I think she was trying to share something important to me, and I was fixated on my phone. I think I had to respond to something, but she literally said, 5 minutes later, I noticed she's silent. And I'm like, oh, baby, you okay? And then she's like, I was trying to tell you something and you just weren't listening. You weren't paying attention.
I've been there. That's completely me, bro. That's me completely. When she says something very important, I acknowledge the first bit and then I just drift off. And then 5 minutes later, she's got the I'm like, what's going on? She's like, you just completely disregarded anything that I was trying to speak to you about.
Bro.
And I was listening. I listen with my ears, not my eyes.
You and I both.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're a constant work in progress.
Yeah,
we'll say that.
Of course.
So I think one of the key things we need to understand is we're made to communicate. Now, in our scenario or example, which we're working on, what are we communicating when we're on our phone? What we're communicating is there is something else that I would rather tend to at this time, right? Put it how you want to put it. So it's important to understand we're made to communicate. Now, the key thing now is public speaking is not a talent, it's a skill. So if we understand it with that frame, immediately what it does is it's something we can now learn, right? It's not that some are made to communicate and others aren't. It's simply that some have learned the fundamentals of public speaking. And so then we get to a place now we're thinking, okay, then if it's a skill, what do I need to do then to become better at this skill? And so there's a number of things that you can do. One of the things that I tend to recommend to my clients is recording yourself. Like, if you need to message someone now and then, instead of sending a text message, why don't you send a video? And the more you do it, the more you'll start to pick up little things that you can work on, whether it be, you notice that you say ums and ahs a lot, which for me personally as a coach, I don't think it's completely bad. I think it just depends on the context and how often you're using it. And then also too, you start to notice, okay, if these are the things that I need to work on, you also pick up now when you see good speakers talk, you can now start to identify things that they use that you can also adopt into your own speaking style. Whether it be a certain style of humor, or even whether it be like authenticity, whatever it is. And so to answer your question, I would say we need to understand that we are all made to communicate. One, we need to understand it's not a talent, it's a skill. And there's certain things that we can do to improve.
What would you say are 3 top tips for someone getting into public speaking, just so they can get over that hurdle of just getting into talking?
I would say, so the way I teach it is, when it comes to public speaking, there's really 4 things at play. One is your mindset. So I call these 4 things the 4 M's to speaking mastery. So one is your mindset. So I say you have to master your mindset. And then 2, you have to master your message. And then 3, you have to master your audience. And then 4, you have to master the moment. I love seeing public speaking through those 4 things, because all of a sudden it makes a topic that can be very daunting to something that's manageable. So if I know it's down to mindset, I can think, okay, how do I then frame my mindset to enable me to be a better communicator? A lot of people mentally, they've already decided that they're not good speakers.
Yeah.
And that's not a growth mindset.
No, of course.
A lot of people are like, oh, I will never be a good speaker. But I like to challenge them and say, what if, with the right support, with the right feedback, you could become a better speaker than you are?
Like anything, right?
That's
what people usually say. I'm not that person.
Exactly.
I'm not a morning person.
Exactly.
You can be a morning person.
Exactly.
And I always fight against that, because I know everything that I am now, I wasn't. I was the same person.
Yeah.
I'm not smart. I don't read books. I've never read a book in my life. And then I got into reading. I got obsessed with reading. I'm not a morning person, because I always someone that got up late. I become a morning person.
Yep.
I'm not a runner. I become a runner.
Yep.
Everything that I wasn't, I become.
Yeah, exactly. And similar to you, and I'll connect this to the public speaking point. Similar to you, in 2017, I was in a real difficult place. And I remember one morning I come across a video by Mel Robbins, I think she's called, talking about the 5-second rule. I don't know if you've
I've seen it. Yeah.
And I decided to give it a try. And bro, every single morning I give myself 5 seconds and go for a run. And all of a sudden, bro, since then, running has become like a part of my morning routine. Prior to that, I wasn't a runner like that.
Yeah, and the same for me with my morning habits. That's I always mention the book Miracle Morning, because it was about meditating, journaling, reading, affirmations, and I've said it so many times. I just thought, this sounds spiritual, wacky, hippie. It's not going to be for me. But what broke it down for me was like seeing stories. So when I see evidence of like loads of other people doing it and saying how it worked, I was like, maybe there's something in this that I need to try. And one thing I always say is like, judge after routine, not contemplation. So not like try it once and, oh, that doesn't work for me. Like try it, make it part of the routine, and then say, this does work, this doesn't work.
Really good.
So like give it a go, because anytime you try something new, you don't really get the instant result. You go on the first run. After my first run, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a runner, and know what I mean? But the practice of it is going to make sure that you, I'm not going to say always enjoy it, because running is that thing, but certain things you can enjoy more than others, right?
Exactly.
Sure. But I think even like, even you telling your story there of where you begun, and not even speaking English, to where you are now doing what you are with speaking, is obviously should give someone hope that they can speak, because you wasn't always a public speaker.
Exactly.
You broke that down. You broke your own barriers down to become a public speaker.
Exactly. Now, the key thing that you'll notice in my story is, so I mentioned when I was learning English, I had these after school lessons, right? There was a teacher that was teaching us. Similarly with the Mel Robbins example that I gave, there was someone that helped me get out of a certain way of thinking to a new way of thinking. And I'm not sure where you're at, those that are watching, where you're at with your communication skills, but I would say the first thing is think about who can help me on this journey. There's tons of public speaking coaches out there. That's a good first place to start. And then the second thing I would say, mastering your message. I would say one of the key things that you can do is actually thinking about, how do I communicate my personal life story? Because when it comes to speaking, if you have one thing that you can speak about that you've mastered, that gives you confidence or increases your confidence to talk about other things. Yeah. It's like a manageable first step.
Yeah, I agree with that. The more confidence you got around something that you speak about, it's like, because a lot of the stuff that you know off the top of your head, and that should give you confidence. Yeah, you know what I mean. And that's why I try to only speak on things that I know about. Maybe not when I first started doing Instagram and posting stuff, because I see other people doing some stuff. I had like a slight inkling on this, maybe a subject, and I'll make a video and like it just didn't sound right, but it's because I didn't know what I was talking about. Right. You know what I mean? So when I just understand what you're speaking about, like even when me and you, we do random word, right? You throw me a word and I try and make up say some story. There's not that much conviction in it. You chuck a word in there and I tell a part of it like I've told before, or a part of my story. There's conviction and it comes easy, right?
There you go.
Because I know what I'm talking about, because I've lived it. There you go.
Yeah. Spot on. Yeah. Exactly. So mindset, message, you've got your message, your personal life story. The next thing is thinking about things like the audience. You know, if you were ever to communicate your story, not that you need to get to that place immediately, but if there ever came an opportunity to communicate that story, simply it comes down to, okay, from my personal life story, what examples could I use that connect to this audience? Simple as that. But you don't need to think about it immediately. And then the fourth thing is really thinking about the moment. Mastering the moment. When it comes to communication, if you had an opportunity to communicate, what are some of the last minute things or unexpected things to think about? It could be nerves. Okay, if you're nervous, there's something called the 7-11 breathing technique, which you breathe in 7 seconds and you breathe out 11 seconds, and that's known. The army even do it as well.
Yeah, I think I've seen one of box breathing. Box breathing, it helps me to 4-4-4-4.
Yes,
that's something that I've done similar before. Taking back there, like what you said as well on the audience side of things. That's one of the things that I tell people to do first. Is like I like talking to my old self. Because I know my old self best. So the words of advice I'm giving, it's just things that have essentially helped me. I think that's always good for someone to break in. It's like, I've done it on a personal branding call the other day. I've set up a free school and I've done like a 2-hour personal branding school. And one of the things that I teach them on is like, know the audience first. Because who are you actually speaking to? Yes. Because I feel like that gives you confidence. Because like what we're saying, you know who the old version of you is, or the trolls, that the struggles they've been through, things that have helped you. Talk to that version of you.
Yes. And I challenge some people and actually say, before you open PowerPoint or whichever software you're using to prepare your presentation, ask yourself one question. What's the one thing that I want the audience to walk away with? Now, why do I recommend that? Because many times, if we open PowerPoint, you get into this mindset where it's like, what do I want to say? But you're not thinking about them. And I like to frame public speaking like, you know, if we think about all the popular talks we know out there, whether it be Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, or whatever it is, I like to see it as those people delivered a gift to us in the form of a message. And now we take that gift and share it with other people. Right? That's why you hear people say, oh, did you hear this speech? Oh, did you hear about XYZ? Have you heard this TED Talk? Right? Because the speaker has delivered a gift. And similarly with us, when we're speaking, we have an opportunity to deliver a gift to the minds of the listeners.
I think speaking is powerful.
It is powerful.
I think it's powerful. When I look at people public speaking and like, or even have massive stages or whatever it is, like, there's something about it that I think is just like, because it just seems so daunting. All of them eyes watching you. I don't know. It's just like, it just to me is powerful.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it is. There was some research done in the US, a university in the US. They took two groups of people. One group, they played them a movie with the video and the audio. Second group of people, they only played the audio. At the end of the test, they found that the both groups, their minds were showing the same patterns. Right? So the group with the video playing and the group with just the audio. Now, what's the conclusion of that research? Words alone carry so much power in terms of transforming people. There's so much power in words. There's so much power in speaking. So, yeah.
What do you feel like one of the biggest things that holds people back is fear of other people too?
Yes.
Like, because even like what you said earlier, you said first step, like, make a recording of yourself. And this is, this is the first step for even anyone just even not want to public speak on a stage, right? But like maybe they want to do a recording and put it on Instagram.
Yep.
The video before you even put it on Instagram, right? It's not live. Like the amount of times I've just recorded myself on my iPhone, but done it 1,000 times, right?
Yep.
Why am I so petrified to make a video about something I already know? The camera's on me, but I'm not putting it nowhere.
Yeah.
But what is it about that that's just so petrifying that is hard? Does that make sense? Like, even if you said, like, start off by sending a video to your mate, just do a recording.
Yeah.
The likelihood of someone just doing that to begin with and just like sending it that first time.
Yeah.
One, I feel like when you do it, there's immediate pressure to do the video. Two, you look at it and you're like, I don't know, I don't like that one. Let me go again. But then the more times you go, the more trying to be perfect, the less you end up taking action on it, right? You just end up not doing it at all. And I've done that. I've spent hours before videoing myself and like I knew I should have went with the first one. But I just went and didn't do it. What is it about that just even recording yourself that's so petrifying? And then even posting it, the next step of that is even more petrifying. Because you feel like maybe you're going to get judged.
Yeah, exactly that. So I did a webinar last week. And so I always do this with a webinar or a speaking engagement. I would review it afterwards and just think about, okay, what went well, what didn't go well. This time, for some reason, I got out the recording and I was like, I don't want to press play. Especially because the webinar didn't quite go how I wanted it to. There were so many areas that I think I could have improved on, done better. I just didn't want to press play. But after about 5 minutes, I pressed play and I was just reviewing, okay, you could have started like this. You could have done this better. And then later on, I was just thinking, what is it that took me so long to just press play and watch the recording? And I think it's because within us all, there is a natural instinct to want to be liked.
I agree with that.
But you know what's interesting? I think when we get over that, although I don't necessarily think we get over it, I think it's just part of human nature, we're social beings. When we're able to conquer it, maybe that's a better phrasing, we actually position ourselves in a better place for impact. Because people can tell when you're just trying to impress them.
Yeah.
People can tell when you're just trying to be liked. But if they notice that this person isn't necessarily trying to impress me, this person has something of value that they want to add to me, there's a whole
I agree with that too, because two things that really help me or helps me post content or do speeches. One, I always say to myself, what is my intention behind?
Right.
What's my intention behind this post? What's my intention behind this speech? In the past, it could be like, if I post this, that means I'm going to get likes or views or X, Y, Z, right? It's a negative intention behind it.
Yes.
But now I say, what's my intention behind the post?
Yes.
And if I know my why behind my post and I feel like my intention's pure, I'll post it. Same with my talk. It's like, why do I want to go up there? Yeah, I'm feeling nervous. Yeah, I feel like all of them feelings and what, but like my why outweighs the fear.
Yes.
Does it make sense?
Exactly.
And my why outweighs the judgment of what someone else is going to think of me, because I know my intention behind what I'm doing is to serve, is to give value, is to help. And that is something that's really helped me just post the content that I do and just not care.
Yeah. So that's why I think the question should always be, should not be how many likes or views can I get from this, but more so how can I better serve and love others through this. And I've got a story to show that. A friend of mine put out some content recently. One of the videos didn't get many views, didn't get many likes, but there was one person that watched it that ended up booking them for a speaking engagement.
Because it was pure, and I feel like you can, even we've said it sometimes, right? And even my videographer has done it. It's like, even though we're not with the person, when someone says certain things with a certain emotion behind it, you can feel. Yeah, you can feel something when you when you listen to that person or whatever it may be. Yeah, you know what I mean. And I think that helps. And that was probably that one person that felt his message through the screen. Spot on. And what do you know what that is or not? Like, do you know what that is? Is it because they relate to that? Is it because the speaker said it that way? Like, I've done recordings with my videographer before, and like we just do them whatever, and then like some of them you go. It's like he can feel the energy through the lens. Does that make sense? Like he's just gone, but I felt it. He felt it. It was like an energy exchange of like, that was the one. And like even when you've done random words, sometimes you've gone, I can feel that. Yeah,
I think it's conviction. Yeah, I think it's when you have internalized something for yourself to the point where it's impacted your own life, you communicate it with so much more conviction, and people feel that. So I can give you a story to back that up.
No, but I'm trying to create the story in my own head. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
And so one example is, you know, there's some personal stories that we hear from people about their personal life journey that we walk away just thinking, wow, that person has been through a lot. And wow, they also shared these lessons from their stories and were impacted because of their personal story. But I'll also give you an example. So I run a social enterprise called Run With Purpose, where we help men overcome mental health issues through running and socializing. And when we first started, literally, the story that I always told was the reason why we started Run With Purpose was because my friend and I were suffering with anxiety in 2019, and we found that running helped. And so we decided we would create a community for men to run and have conversations. Whenever I share that, Jack, there is something within me that's just like, yes, that resonates, that connects. And when others hear it, they connect with it as well. Because it's like, wow, you had a struggle, you overcame, and this is what you've done as a result. So there's something powerful about stories, there's something powerful about messages that resonate with us personally. And that's why I recommend it to people watching, starting with your own personal life story. Yeah. Because there's no one that knows your personal life story like you do.
For sure.
So if there's one thing that you can master and have conviction on from the get-go is your personal life story.
Yeah, but I love what you said there. That's really resonated deep with me when you're talking about it. If it's helped you, if it resonates with you, first, you feel it, and there's more conviction when you're saying it. Yes. It happened to me the other day. I was writing some content. I don't know what I was writing the content on or what was going on, but then I started to, when I go back and I write content and I'm doing it to my old self, it was like I was doing a post to my 23-year-old self. As I'm writing it, I felt I was getting attached to it, and then in that moment, I wrote another piece of content. I'm going to film that next week, and I was like, no, fuck it, like just get the phone now. I've still got my phone, I ain't posted it, but like it was just like I turned it around and I was just like, you are the purpose, like becoming the best you is the purpose. Like, yes. Do you know, like no one's gonna come and like fucking save you. It just like it's all on you. It was short, it was impacting. It just, I felt it. I haven't posted it yet, but like I felt like that one's gonna touch someone because I know the conviction I put for it, but it's because I've lived and experienced it. Yes, I connected with something.
Exactly. You've connected with it. You've been through it. Yes. And oftentimes, and I've shared this in our coaching sessions, sometimes when we're speaking, we make this mistake of we're communicating from our season of victory instead of communicating from our season of struggle or pain. Now, most people, I might be wrong on this, you guys can call me out if I am, most people especially motivational speakers, they communicate from a place of victory.
Yeah.
However, people that are watching, they are most likely in a place of struggle. And so the key thing is to really, if I can use this word, humble ourselves and think about, how do I communicate at that person's level? And the way you do that is by starting off with your own season of struggle, where you were doubting yourself, where financially things weren't great, where your self-esteem was low, imposter syndrome was having its way. You start there.
And that's hard to be vulnerable and actually, if you're in a place of victory, speak on them things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it's one of the most powerful things that you can do, because then it changes you from just being a superhero to someone that is a human being.
Yeah, I agree with that. No, I agree with that. And to be fair, I like to be quite honest and open my struggles. Not so much usually when you're going through them, it can be quite hard because you feel a bit maybe, what's the word?
It's too premature.
Yeah, it's too premature maybe. You've not got through it yet. So you don't want to maybe speak about it because you do feel weak and vulnerable in the moment of that place of struggle, you know?
And that's why many therapists actually recommend you talking about your struggle after you've been through it.
After you've been through it, yeah, for sure. Because I feel like when you're going through it, if you was to share it with a therapist, it's okay. But if you was to, say on Instagram, start sharing right now, you financially got no money and stuff like that, it would probably be viewed in a lens of, feel sorry for me. It could be, you know what I mean? I think it could make you feel like you're weak. I don't know. But coming through it and then talking about it, I have no issues with. But it's just at the time.
Yeah.
And I don't actually like people saying well done, if that makes sense. Like when I post even my sobriety post, I don't really like posting them anymore, but I post them because I know it's going to help someone. But I don't like when someone says well done on it. I don't know why, because I'm not posting it for you to say well done. I'm posting it to serve. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't think of it that way, but that is it's interesting. No, I love what you said there about, because that resonates deeply with me. Coming back to you, Joel, when you said you created Run with Purpose, right? What got you into running? How did that purpose come for yourself? Like, was it university and then it was straight? Was there any struggles? Was the journey? What led you to create Run with Purpose for yourself?
Yeah, so I said earlier, in 2019, I'm in my final year of university, and life just got a hold of me. So just the pressure of everything, assignments, thinking about post-uni jobs, thinking about, pleasing my parents, just got the best of me. And I was in a season of deep anxiety, wrestled with suicidal thoughts as well. And I'm saying all of that even as a Christian and as someone of faith. I say that because just to communicate that we all have struggles. So that's kind of where the place that I was in. And I remember one morning I said, okay, I know that I enjoy running, but at that point I hadn't been doing it consistently, just every now and then. So I decided, okay, what can I do consistently within my own willpower? So I decided every morning after my time of prayer, I would go for a run. And so I'd wake up, have my time of prayer, quiet time, and then go for a 5K. And after about 2 weeks, I noticed such a profound effect on my mental health, on my emotional health, even my productivity as well. And one morning I decided to call my friend, who is also co-founder. His name is Nee. And I said, bro, it would be great to start a community of guys running and having conversations about their struggles and how they're generally doing. And he says to me, bro, I've been thinking about the exact same thing.
That's crazy.
So we met up, got to the drawing board, and decided we would start this community called Run with Purpose, helping men overcome mental health issues through running and socializing. And we had our first run June 2019, and we had about 30 guys show up, running, having conversations, and the stories, Jack, were incredible. Some guys would say things like, I'm going through X, Y, Z, depression, anxiety, and being with you guys today. This is the first time, though it's been a while that I've been struggling, this is the first time I'm finally letting out the emotions I've been bottling in. Those type of stories times 10, 20, bro. So we noticed there's a real connection, the mission and the people. And then all of a sudden, organizations just started reaching out. So we did a documentary with the BBC. We did a campaign with Adidas. We did a campaign with Vodafone. We did a workshop for the NHS. All of a sudden, just out of nowhere, just coming. And you can check us out on Instagram and stuff. So we noticed that the mission is resonating with people on the ground, the everyday person like you and I, and it's also resonated with the big organizations. And so I think, going back to your question, I found my purpose, my calling, really in that season of struggle, in that season of anxiety, in that season of depression. But again, what I find fascinating was it wasn't me. I didn't find it by sitting alone in a room and thinking about, oh, what's my purpose? I found it through my connection with my friend, Nee, because he said, bro, I've been thinking the exact same thing.
I was going to say, there's a few things I want to unpack there. Yeah. It's crazy, and I believe something great can always come out of struggle.
Yes.
And I believe we have to go through struggle. And it doesn't have to be struggle as in rock bottom. Everyone's got their own struggle.
Yep.
But if you can learn the lesson in the struggle and come out of it. This is a small one. A couple of weeks ago, I was running and I pulled my back out of nowhere. And I end up having a bit of a bad weekend, maybe eating a bit too much chocolate and all this kind of stuff. And the back of that weekend, I said, I've been doing this for a little while now. I'm now and again, I overindulge a bit too much in sugar and stuff. And I've quit sugar and I've quit processed foods, but it wouldn't have come if I didn't pull my back and feel so disappointed in myself and feel angry and then go off in a little binge. And I learned the lesson from it, which enabled me to cut sugar and process that. And the last 3 weeks since doing that, I felt amazing. My running's got better. My energy's better. I feel more connected with myself, because I'm respecting myself now. It wouldn't have come if I didn't have that, what at the time, pulling the back seemed like the worst thing in the world. Does that make sense? Yes. And I feel like everything that I've been through, every struggle or challenge on the other side has been something. But I feel like you've got to recognize that it's hard to when you're going through it.
Yes.
But if you can, it's powerful, because on the other end, I believe you can grow and do some amazing things.
Yes, exactly. Now, I'm a man of faith. There's a scripture that says, God works all things for our good. God works all things for our good. The reason why I bring that up is because there is something about any struggle, any season that we're in that ultimately serve for our good. So I bet there's some lessons that you took away from that.
Oh, for sure.
There's lessons that I took away from my season of anxiety and so on. And so I wonder if maybe that's one of the important things that we can always remember is in this struggle, there is a lesson, there is a purpose.
I completely agree. I think the hardest thing in which I never used to realise is when I was going through, I've become more self-aware. So when that happened on the weekend and I had that the immediate response was like, what needs to change? That was a wake-up call from somewhere to say, you're doing something wrong, Jack. Let's change and let's grow from this. In the past, I would go through the struggle, keep going through the struggle. But eventually when I would get out of it, I would look back 6 months later and go, I needed that. Does that make sense? I've always looked back and said I've needed it. Now it's like when I'm going through it, what is this teaching me? Wow. Whereas before it was like I would get through it and then be like, I needed to go through all of that. But it was it didn't have to be that hard. If when I was going through it, I realized that this needs to happen to get to where I need to go. That makes sense.
Spot on.
And touching back on like you and I know that you're a man of faith and God. Do you believe that that guidance to run, that conversation with your friend was meant to happen? Like,
Yes.
yeah, that's what I mean. Do you
Yes.
see things as like they are? Because I don't believe in coincidences. I
Neither do
believe
I.
things, whether
Yes.
that's God, the universe. I don't quite know what that is for myself
Yes.
yet, but I don't believe in coincidences. I just don't. Do you feel like that was God's path for you to put you in the right place?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Similar to you, I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything happens for a reason. I think the question comes whether we're aware of the reason. And for me, as a person of faith, we're aware of what God is doing.
And you grew up believing in God. Has it always been a strong connection to God? Have you drifted in and out of it?
Drifted, bro. Drifted. So I started taking the faith seriously when I was 19. I'm 29 now. I don't mind sharing that. So prior to that, actually maybe 20. Anyway, prior to me taking the faith seriously, really, bro, like life was just all about what Joel wants, pleasure and enjoyment.
I've been there, don't I?
Exactly. So I would rave it up, drugs, alcohol, girls, that lifestyle, right? And then something, but interesting enough, Jack, like I was never fulfilled or happy. Like in the moment, yeah, like
Short term.
living up short term, yeah, like I'm having a blast, but like the next day, I'd always be like, what was that all about? But you know what I discovered? It's because I was trying to fill a void within me. Every single time, there's a void that I was trying to fill, and there's something that happened that really changed things around for me. There was one particular party I went to, and after the party there were these guys that came, and long story cut short, one of them took out a gun and pointed it at me, and he said, "Oh, say something now, like what you saying?" But bro, like in that moment, like it's almost like everything around me just went still. It's like the whole world just completely froze. And obviously I said nothing. And then he put the gun away. And bro, like as I was walking away from where it happened, it's almost like I felt a voice within me say, paraphrasing, for a long time I've been trying to capture your heart, but you've been running away. Will you take me seriously now? And I finally decided, okay, you know what? Let me intentionally do research around this. So started reading up, started going to church, and so at church they do this thing where at the end of the service they'll just say something like, "Oh, if you're here and you want to receive Jesus, or if you want to receive the faith, just put your hand up." And I remember I just put my hand up and said, "Yeah." Bearing in mind, I've been raised in a Christian home, but never resonated with it personally. I had to go through my own journey of discovery. So yeah, put my hand up, received Jesus as my personal Lord and Savior. And since then, Jack, like everything that I once enjoyed, I have no desire for. Like I have zero interest. And now my real desire is just pleasing God and living the life that He's called me to, a life of purpose and serving Him.
That connection to God, what do you feel like it gives you?
I think there's a few things. I think one thing is there is a peace. There's a peace, and what I mean by that is I don't need anything else to be fulfilled. All I need is Him. That's the first thing. The second thing that it gives me is significance. What do I mean by that? Significance in knowing that I'm accepted by him and I'm his son, God's son. So instead of seeking significance and even security in other things, whether it be money or my career, and this is someone that worked for a Fortune 500 company where, money was good. Instead of seeking significance, security, and acceptance in external things, my security, significance, and acceptance comes from him. And so the way I do life is from my relationship with him, that being the foundation, as opposed to external things dictating who I am.
How do you feel like someone gets that connected to God? Like, I'll be honest, I believe in God. As I've mentioned, I don't know what God that is.
Yeah.
I feel very spiritually connected at the moment. Recently, something that's made me more aware that nothing external is going to give me what I once thought it would.
Yeah.
Like, there are no achievements, no money is going to make me feel internally fulfilled. Not because I've reached the heights of, I don't know, some of the best out there in the world. But I met that pretty soon, whether that was the finances that I've earned, the achievements that I've earned. I know that none of that's going to give me lasting fulfillment, because however easily it got it, went, got it, went. And people think it's going to be the bigger number, the bigger this, the bit, and I know it's not. But one of the things that's helped me is meditation, is praying.
Yeah.
As I say, I pray to God. I don't know what that is, but the more meditation I do, the more I practice gratitude, the more I actually build a better relationship with myself.
Yeah.
Counting my wins, counting what I'm proud of, and things like that. It's made me feel more internally fulfilled.
Oh, wow.
Still something that I'm drifting
Yeah.
in and out of.
Yeah.
Right, but and I feel like I've become more connected to something by meditation, through prayer, through gratitude. How do you feel like someone gets that connected the way that you are to God?
Yeah. So there's a scripture that says that God loved the world, that he sent his son, Jesus Christ, so that anyone that would believe in him, anyone, literally anyone, so it's very much inclusive, anyone that would believe in him would have eternal life. And what's that saying? What that's saying is God loves you and I, first of all. That there's a love that he has, so much so that he was willing to sacrifice his son, something that is his, so that you and I can be connected with him. So then where does that take us? Well, the first place that it takes us then is recognizing that, okay, since God has done his part, what on our part is stopping us from connecting with that? And I think one of the things that we don't talk about enough is that actually as humans there is a brokenness to us all. And so the first part then is recognizing, you know what, God, I am an imperfect human being, or in other words, I'm a sinner, and I am deciding in my imperfection to receive your love, to receive your son. And so there's a scripture that says, if you, and this is answering your question, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and declare, if you believe in your heart that he's Lord and declare with your mouth, you shall be saved. So it's as simple as that, as receiving his love, receiving him into our hearts. Now, that does not mean all of a sudden we're this perfect. We're perfect, because even in my own journey, I mentioned some of my own struggles, even as a Christian. Doesn't mean we're perfect, but the difference it makes, Jack, is we do life knowing that he is with us, that God is with us. And we do life knowing that we are secure, we are accepted by him, we are significant. I'm not sure if you're a football fan, but Saka, who plays for Arsenal, he often refers to himself as God's son. And I believe that's so significant. And I think the reason why he does it is that even as a footballer, he's reminding himself that, hey, with all the noise, with the money, with all the fans, people cheering me on, and all of that is not necessarily bad. But what he's saying is there's something deeper that I'm connected to. That even if all the lights were gone, I have this.
And I feel like, do you feel like it can also be, it's the belief that holds them back, people back? Like, I feel like people hold themselves back from pushing on doing more in life because they don't believe in themselves, right?
Yes.
That's number one.
Yes.
When it comes to a faith, a religion, you have to believe in the unknown, the unseen.
Yes.
Does that make sense? It's
Yes.
it's not a logical way of thinking. Like what I said, my struggle is when I kind of explored it a little bit. I have the logical mindset. Is that true? Is that true? Right. And then even sometimes in the past when I've gone to think about goals and stuff, it's like, is that possible? Is that possible for me? It's like the programming beliefs, whatever it may be, like to believe in the unseen, whether that's in yourself or whether that's in a religion, is quite a hard thing to fathom for people to believe.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because like we're literally, I'm not sure if I'll say we're designed like this, but everything around us is calling for us to think about just the external, just things around us, right? Like, you can see things around you, you're sat down, like there's evidence, right? And so when it comes to faith, something that you can't see, it requires almost like a different faculty, like this trust. And some people often use the analogy of like, when you're sat down on a chair, it's like you just sit down, you have faith that it's there, that it will hold you up. So that's the thing with the unseen. But I also think that's the power of it. Is like, I'll give you an example. For me, when I go into speaking engagements, like in corporate firms, like, bro, I go in there with this confidence that I'm not alone. Bro, I can't tell you how much of a difference that's made to my speaking, especially when you're speaking to, a certain type of audience, like engineers, for example, who are very stern, who will just look at you, no expression, no smile, nothing. If there's no firmness in your identity and the fact that God is with you and you're not alone, bro, that will make you stumble. It's like,
And I agree with that, because even for me, as I say, I believe in God, right? I believe in unseen forces, spirituality, whatever it may be, and I do believe, if I can believe in that there is. There is evidence in terms of Bible, but like nothing that I've actually physically seen. If I can believe in something like that, I do believe I can believe in myself.
Yes.
Because I don't need evidence to go for and commit to things that I want.
Yeah. And you know what I think is powerful about Christianity, or like my faith, is that it's almost like God is no longer a distant figure. He's no longer just out there and like, oh yeah, like, but he actually comes near and close to us. And the way we know that is that, through Jesus. And scripture says that another word that's referred to Jesus as is Emmanuel, and that's translated as God with us. And even now, like, I was actually praying about this podcast, and one of the things that I sensed was just God's presence just surrounding us as we're having this conversation. And I'm not sure if you can feel it, but I feel like a presence.
No, I feel present right now. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. No, but I felt that when we was talking. I feel in flow. I feel present, which is powerful. And this is me asking for selfish reasons. If someone's to get into wanting to explore Christianity, say, what do you feel like is an easy way for someone like myself to, because I did go to a church, and I went there, and I was there for, it was okay. It was a little bit sing and dancey for me. I didn't hear much. I didn't feel much, and I thought, I don't know that's going to be me. Do you know what I mean? Then I went my own route of picking up the Bible, but as I said, I started reading it. A bit confused where to start with it. There's this, there's that, there's that, and I feel like I've been called to explore Christianity. But how can I start?
So a good place to start is if you've got a friend that's a Christian, simply asking them, "Hey, I want to go deeper." One, but also two, there's a lot of great materials out there. There's something called the Alpha Course, which at my church we also run, and you can also do it online as well. And what's great about the Alpha Course is you're in a room of people that are in the same position as you. And what I mean by that is they're just exploring faith. They want to know more. And that's great because that means that you have space for questions. And again, there's never stupid questions. You can ask questions. You can bring your full self without feeling like you have to hide anything because everyone there is just like you.
Yeah.
Right. So the Alpha Course is great. A lot of churches do it. There's also online versions as well. And some people even do it in their homes. So that's a place to start. And then I think another thing that you can also look at is in the Bible, you can look at the book of John, the Gospel of John. It's one of my personal favorites because it really shows you who Jesus is, who God is, and it exposes you to how he lived and the miracles that took place and so on and so on. So I'd say those three things. I would say having someone to walk you through the journey, looking at the Alpha courses, and I'll send some over to you.
Please.
And I'll say three, personally, also just digging deep and looking at, the book of John, for example, and reading. And as you do, you might even want to say a simple prayer like, God, reveal yourself to me as I read. There's been incredible stories of people praying that and just God doing a miraculous work in them. Like, for example, I know people who were once drug addicts, they prayed that and immediately, they were free from it. Again, it's never about perfection. So I think God loves people who want to know him. God loves people who are seeking him. And when he sees that, he rewards that. He meets us in that place.
Love that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing, man. I'm going to explore that for sure. And just before we wrap up, I'll ask one final question. Where can people find you?
Yes, so you can find me at Joel Thika on Instagram, at Joel Thika on if you want to look at any of my organizations, Run With Purpose _org on Instagram. I've also got a website as well, coachjoel.co.uk. And
Perfect.
yeah,
I'll put the links down below with this. And final question, what does becoming the best you mean to you?
Becoming the best me is living a life that transforms the lives of others. And so there's really two parts to that. One part is, how can I be the best me so that emotionally, mentally, physically, I'm in a great space. And not always, but I'm in a posture where I can add value to others.
Love that. That's the same, becoming the best me.
Yeah.
Same thing. If I lead from the front, I believe that I can lead people behind me.
Yes. And there's an interesting quote which says, people don't do what you say oftentimes, they do what they see you doing.
Or people don't believe the message if they don't believe the messenger.
There you go.
Great stuff, man. Love it.